Hey everyone, this is Hannah. My project for final is comparing the 2019 fall edition of Esquire on the left, which is a men's fashion magazine, and Better Home and Gardens on the right, which is more geared towards homemaking and, as you can see, ladies. Um, I first want to point out, without bringing numbers into it, just the different color motifs that are going on. On the left, with Esquire, it's not really washed out, but it is definitely darker tones, more clean cut. You can see all the guys with the tuxedos. Everybody's a little bit more serious and stoic. And then on the right, with Better Homes, you can see a lot more color, a lot more pinks and oranges. A lot of like cookies and fun things with a lot of smiles. So right off the bat, and pets. So right off the bat, you can see how there's different tones with each of the magazines. When we dive into the statistics, funny enough, each added up to 36 ads, so it's a pretty one-to-one comparison when we're comparing the two. When it came to references to family in general, like housemaking, planning, family-oriented activities, there was only one reference really, and that was with a mention of like generations and passing things down with Esquire. With funny, I put it right up here with the what I assume is the father hugging the kid. With Better Homes, there's like an actual pregnant woman right on the upper right hand side, and there's 5 references to family. More specifically with children, there was only one reference to a child in Esquire, which was that one kid, and 2 really low, like 2 references to children in Better Homes with I'm pretty sure it was an ad for cancer research and her testimonial to being able to have a child after having cancer, and then the pregnant woman looking for a house for a real estate company. When it came to couples, out of the 36 ads, there was only 2 couples in the Esquire magazine. A lot of them don't really seem to portray any bachelor energy or hookup culture or anything. It's just literally clean-cut guys who are professional. And then in the Better Homes, there are 2 couples as well, but they're it's really weird. They were for prescription drugs for difficulty having sex when you're in your late 60s, getting a prescription for that, and then also congestive heart failure. And they were all elderly couples, or both elderly couples, because there were only 2. So I found that very interesting. When it came, here's where it really diverges. When it came to products for grooming or your appearance, very very general, because I wanted to make sure I got like any advert in Esquire considering that, because it was very hard. I didn't find any advert for enhancing your appearance for Esquire, but there were like 12 out of 36 for Better Home, and they all mention like nurture your natural beauty and hold on to your collagen with like older women, or incontinent diapers for women, and how they were very slimming so that you couldn't see them under a skirt, which is very specific to women especially. When it came to food, there was like no food. Granted, these are very different magazines, with one being about fashion and the other one being about all of your lifestyle. There was no food in Esquire. There were like 12 references to food, like and like sugary food, like Hershey's, Magnum chocolate ice cream, I forget that one cookie brand, and like Lunchables and like all that stuff. When it came to the expressions on people's faces, is very different for the Esquire magazine. There's only like 5 men smiling, with 12 being very stoic and some serious, some just blank looking. For Better Home, everybody was smiling. Maybe only, I definitely, one woman was little serious, but that was for makeup, so she really couldn't be smiling because it was to showcase the makeup. For Esquire, everybody was pretty slim. I didn't see any really average or above average body types when it comes to weight. A lot of the women in Better Homes, a lot were focused on the face, so I really couldn't take that into account. But a lot of them weren't the skinniest. A lot of them were just regular average Americans. And when I say average, I do mean average of like America, not being the skinniest population. So definitely average Americans were in this magazine. When it came to being like half naked or showing skin, there was one shirtless guy in Esquire who was being like a little smoldering. You know, it was a modeling advert. So I think it was just advertising his career. And then the one for Better Homes, it wasn't anything like sexual. It was just for appliances. So it's like you can take the shower head and get your back and then get your feet. So it was her in the shower with a picture of her back and then her feet. And it wasn't very revealing at all. It was just like, oh, I can take a very good shower. In fact, nothing really was overtly sexual at all in Better Home. And then in Esquire, maybe 1 or 2 instances where you could perceive it as sexual. But then again, you can just call that like, oh, he has the blue steel look. Like he's just like looking off into the distance, and that can either look like he's thinking or look like he's sexy. So it's up to interpretation. There were only 2 black people in Esquire, but it was a little bit better in Better Home 4, which I think the ratio of like the population in the United States, that's pretty good considering. But we do have to take into consideration it was not an advert, but there was a black man on the cover of Esquire, so I thought that was nice. A lot of mixed race people, so you can't really peg what race they were. Like one Asian in Esquire and no Asians in Better Home. So it was a very mixed bag of like not knowing what to come of it. There was no alcohol efforts in Better Home, but there was like 3 in Esquire. But then again, if you're dressing nice and you're professional and stuff, that really tends to go with the whole smoking cigars and drinking scotch lifestyle. In Esquire, there were 5 women, while in Better Home there were only 2 men, and those 2 men were part of the couples that I mentioned before. So none of them were just there. And then on average, the ages for the people in Esquire were around 30. Not really young looking, a lot of them. And again, this is all perception because everybody can look super old or super young. But they all seemed like solid 30s. While in Better Home, Helen Mirren was in there, and then they were talking about like hold on to your collagen and stuff. So there's a good mixed amount of older women and younger women, but a lot of them seem to be around 30. So I just estimated that the average age was like 40, 45. And I thought that was pretty good. not really aiming for the young demographic. Yeah, I just thought this was very interesting because I imagine if I picked something a little bit more of a apple to apple comparison, it would have been somewhat similar, but similar to each other. But I just find it so funny how, like for the Better Homes, it's all like literally you need this stuff every day, like menstrual pads, poise pads, prescription drugs, food, dog food, buying a house, and that speaks true to what magazine it is, which is a lifestyle magazine. But on the Esquire side, it was more just like 20 watches or something. It was very cut and dry of like these are just what we're gonna talk about. When it came to important words that were showcased in each magazine, with Esquire, it was very simplistic. Like there was an advert where it said reconnect, and it was just like the wilderness, and then it was an advertisement for a watch. And stuff like conquer the cold for a sweater, or you never actually own a watch, you merely take care of it for the next generation, or power play. So very paternal things that were very simplistic to understand. And then for Better Homes, it was stuff like one says like no dinner drama, because like you're the one making dinner, or make this the most organized school year ever, or I really love that if you have schizophrenia, there is help, or homecoming starts with home. It's like very like you're organizing the life of the family, and maybe you're more aware of your mental health, because I know that's a taboo for a lot of men who are exposed to that stereotype within their group of like, no, you shouldn't address that, that's weak, you don't have schizophrenia, you're just, and like make your own sandwich, stack epic messy masterful count, or must be love at first bite. So it's very I'm gonna keep saying this, very mixed bag with the Better Homes. Like I feel like every single need or desire that a woman could possibly have, not just like makeup or like superficial things with that, but it's like, do you need a house? Do you maybe need a cookie sometimes? Do you pee yourself sometimes? Or are you concerned about getting old? Or do you need like a cup of coffee at the end of the day? Or do you have animals? And with the men's side, it's like, here's a nice suit and 10 watches that you can wear. And again, that's the Esquire is a fashion magazine, and it's showcasing things that you can buy to wear, and that's very clean cut as to what they offer. And then on the right, it's the entire lifestyle of the woman, so there's a lot to advertise to. So yeah, I really think that they really grasped the feminine and masculine stereotypes, the male and female stereotypes that we have today, but not in a necessarily bad way. It's like, I honestly find myself drawn to the right side, and I guess that means that the magazine is doing their job. So that's my presentation. Thank you.